Hi, this is Shauna, and I want to welcome you to Living in This Space. Real talk, because hey, we're all just living in this space we call life, right? It's messy, it's hard, and sometimes it's the most joyous thing we can experience. I want you, my listener, to have a place where the conversation is real and honest. I hope we can spend this time together, validating, sharing, and experiencing all the feels together with whatever topic is on the agenda for the day. Let's dive in. Hi, and welcome back. Well, listeners, have I got a treat for you today. I want to introduce you to Bonnie Gould-Rosen, a dear friend who I have known for a few years now. I have been so excited for this episode because not only has Bonnie led a fascinating life, but she is an incredibly talented breathwork leader and teacher. And she's also highly trained in and has taught Transcendental Meditation. So Bonnie, first I just want to thank you so much. I know you're busy for taking the time to sit in with us today.
Oh, totally my pleasure. I'm so excited. I couldn't sleep last night. My mind was just, going. What am I going to say? What you going to ask me? So I'm very pleased to be here and to share about myself and about my journey and things that have really impacted my happiness, my ease, my dynamism.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know Bonnie, she is a pleasure to sit with and talk to, and somebody that you can immediately just trust and open up to. So we're going to dive right in, Bonnie, if you're okay with that, and because we have a lot to talk about today. All right, so I want to start by asking you to share just a little bit about yourself so our listeners can get a better idea of who you are.
Okay. Well, I started out in Brooklyn. I was born in Brooklyn, and my life story. I was the youngest of four kids. My mom had 4 and 5 years, and then we moved to Long Island. In case anybody is listening from New York, you'll hear New York and you'll hear water, and I'll do my best to have an even accent. But anyway, grew up on Long Island, was had good, loving parents for the most part. They did the best they could, and then I went off to college. I went to Boston University and studied mathematics and education.
Mm.
And when I was in college, it's actually when I first got into meditation.
Okay.
It's a very interesting story. I was taking like a 2-credit course, and it was contemporary religious biographies.
Oh, wow.
And this was in October and fall semester of my senior year. So that was October, November, 1968.
Okay.
Long time ago. Yeah, long time ago. But what they say, time flies when you're having a good time. So the assignment in this class was to write a paper on something.
Mm-hmm.
And so people, it was a little esoteric. I first learned about astrology there, and I learned about tarot cards there. But what happened, because I was in the Boston, Cambridge area, which was very progressive,
Mm-hmm.
especially in the late 60s, um, I came across an advertisement and a book. And the book was called The Science of Being and the Art of Living. And it was written by a spiritual teacher from India. and his name was Maharishi Mahesh Yogi.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to stop doing recreational drugs for 2 weeks, which is one of the requirements, and to learn, because you want to be clear. And
Right.
for $35, I started. And it was to this day, I can remember so clearly what my first experience was in letting go and allowing my consciousness to expand while maintaining awareness.
Okay.
So sleep is different.
Yes.
Most of the time, lights out, nobody home, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Kind of, occasionally we'll pick up a dream, but so anyway, I started meditation then, and I basically continued. So that was what, 55 years. I'm going to be celebrating, I think, 55 years, 54,
Wow.
55, 3 to 68. Yeah, 55 years.
Wow. That is so
It's amazing.
interesting. I love that story of how you became interested in the transcendental meditation in college. And you shared with me last night who caught your attention that was under the
Yes,
tutelage. So tell us a little bit about that.
yes. Well, this book that became popular at that time was happened to be a paperback. It's also available in hardbound, but the paperback version, on the back of it was a picture of the Maharishi with the Beatles.
Oh, wow.
And those of you who are familiar with the Beatles musicology, I guess
Mm-hmm.
it's called, will recognize a number of the songs in their cachet of music that actually were created when they were in India studying with the Maharishi.
Well, I didn't know that.
And so that it just inspired, it kind of gave me permission,
Mm-hmm.
because, the Beatles, I mean, come on, guys, in 1968, Sergeant Pepper and, Rubber Soul and all of those great albums, and the Beatles were doing this.
Right.
And so I gave it a shot. Now, what was interesting, I would want to comment on, Shauna, is that, you know, people go to a meditation practice for different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Some go because they just have high anxiety levels, or they need better rest, better sleep, more effective sleep. Some need to be centered. Some go to it as a spiritual practice.
Okay.
Okay. So there's sort of the um, very, I guess it's empirical, changes that come, sleep and anxiety and galvanic skin response and all these different things. And some go for spiritual reasons. And I did not step into this path for spiritual reasons. I stepped into this path because I was personally suffering.
Mm.
Now, my parents were paying for my education. I had a car. I was student teaching, all of these, I was taken care of on that level. But, I did have abuse
Mm-hmm.
as a child and teenager. There was a lot of emotional abuse and physical abuse and even sexual abuse.
Mm,
I
Bonnie.
will share that. Yeah. And so I was kind of messed up. I didn't know how to be in the world.
You had a lot of trauma.
A lot of trauma,
Yeah.
a lot of trauma. And so I didn't step into it for experiencing expansion of my consciousness and divinity and the divine nature of everything and all of those kinds of expanded um, goals. But that's what's happened over 55 years.
Right. And back then, all of that trauma that you had experienced wasn't talked about. So you
Oh,
probably were
no
walking with
way.
so much pain and you didn't know what to do with it. So, you mentioned last night that this kind of saved your life. So is that what you were alluding to?
Yes, yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. And truthfully, I still have, I'm going to say, memory
Yes.
in my nervous system
Of course you do.
from the traumas,
Hmm.
and something can happen in my everyday life. And if I feel extra pressure psychologically, or if a button gets pushed, I can go right into my defense mechanisms in spite of 55 years
Right.
and a lot of counseling.
The body
Can
remembers.
still do it.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
The body
Yeah.
remembers.
Yeah. So it's okay because we all, I just am a believer in grace, and I know that I'm in the right place.
Yes, I love that, Bonnie. Thank you for sharing that because I know it's not always easy to share something so
Yeah.
painful and personal.
Yeah.
Um, so the
Thank you.
meditation had a profound impact on you during that time. Can you give us an example of how you feel like it changed you or helped you?
I'll give you a great example. I'm really glad you asked that question. My career path has taken me to high school teaching, working in an advertising agency, being a registrar at a university, um, and now I work for a company that actually teaches meditation and breathing to all segments of society. So my story was I was working at this television advertising agency that's located in the town that I live in, which we can talk a little bit about. It's an interesting story there. And one of our clients was Apple Computers,
Oh my goodness.
a big client. Everybody was, on their best behavior.
Hmm.
And I was not on the account, but I was asked to coordinate the document that we were going to present to the client. So it meant coordinating with a lot of different components within the agency, the production and the media and the this and the that, and got it done. Handed the final booklet to the executives, in advance. And the VP said to me, "Bonnie, you've done an amazing job." I said, "Thank you." He said, "And let me tell you why." I said, "Okay, I'm ready. Let me take a deep breath." He said, "Because in the past, you would have been very attached, emotionally attached to not only creating this and coordinating this big project, but being in the room." But I wasn't. I was not attached. I was just able to say, "We did it. Here it is. Everybody's made their contribution. I coordinated it." And I was able to be, I don't know what a better word to be than to say not attached. I wasn't emotionally linked or connected to, and having that income. Outcome. Oh, I did this. Oh, I should be in the room. Can you relate to kind of how one could have that kind of a reaction, because I had spent
Yes.
weeks pulling something together. And the VP said to me, "I can't believe how unattached you are."
Wow.
And so this quality of not being overshadowed and thrown out of our center of who we are by the things that happen around us. This is one of the amazing benefits of doing some kind of a practice. Now, some people do mindfulness and they do yoga,
Hmm.
and these all have good results. I happen to be a strong advocate of what I would call mantra meditation, where the mind gets to be settled down, quiet, but it's still alert.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I'm a strong advocate of adding breath work to that. And the two of those things together um, take one very deep within themselves.
Wow, that's so interesting.
And then when you come out of that deep experience, you bring a little bit of that silence and that centeredness with you.
Yes.
And then as you do it over time, you bring more and more of it out with you, if you will, the in and out, the inner world and the outer world. And so it's like bleaching a cloth in the sun.
Mm-hmm.
You take a piece of plain cloth and you dip it in some dye and you put it out in the sun. The sun bleaches it. Okay. Then you dip it back in and a little more of the dye gets into the fabric, bleach it. You keep doing that. And eventually that cloth is going to be completely the color of the dye.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that bleaching and in and out effect. So that's what happens. And, being not attached, being not a football
Oh,
of things that happen. Footballs push you
yes.
around, a football gets here and then it's there. And then, and so there are so many benefits to one's thinking and mindset,
Wow.
not being a football. Uh, I've learned to not see intention in other people's mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Big one. This is true for everybody. You ready?
Yes.
Accept people and things as they are.
Oh, that is such a big one.
You want to live a happy life? We only can control what our life is about. We be the force in our own life, right? And not to be overshadowed or concerned or angry or anything because everything around us isn't showing up the way our expectation would be about it.
Right. Oh,
So these
Bonnie.
are some of the transformations that come over time.
Yes.
Initially, it's the deep rest, it's the clearer thinking, it's the dynamism, uh, immense energy.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, some of this, it has taken me years to learn in therapy that we are only in control of ourselves. And I'm so
Right.
glad you brought that up. And I love that you have been able to gain that wisdom through the study that you've done and through the meditation and it just brings out, I guess, a higher consciousness to things, to your way of thinking. I love that. Wow, that's really deep.
So the practice, if I can just cap this off,
Sure.
um, of the breath work and the meditation significantly impacts the body and the mind.
Hmm.
Because, the mind and the body are intimately connected.
They are.
I mean,
Yes.
for example, if you're excited, okay, oh, we're going to be in an interview today. What happens to your breath pattern?
Hmm.
What happens in your body? Okay, that's a different energy than the breath pattern that might be there if you're angry. Whoa. And there's a different feeling in the body also in the different energy centers. So the mind and body are intimately connected, just like the hand and a kite are connected
Right.
through the string.
I love that analogy.
And the mind and body are intimately connected through the breath.
Wow.
So that's how it works. So, the mind, which loves to jump around like a monkey, I'm sure everybody's noticed that,
Absolutely.
or if I said to you, I don't want you to think about pink elephants.
That's all that's on my mind.
what's going to happen? You're going to
Yes.
think about them,
Yes.
right? So you can't control the mind by, even though some self-talk can be helpful, but, in general, quieting the mind, bringing the mind to a, its quietest, peaceful, expanded state doesn't come by saying, okay, I'm going to be quiet now and I'm going to get peaceful and let me close my eyes. No, you need a principle of a second element to introduce that into the system that will allow that to happen. And so a meditation and the practice of breath work becomes like that string that connects the mind and body to have this quieting down, just getting quiet.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
And then coming out of that quiet state into dynamic activity.
Yeah. I love that you use the example. It's not just a matter of telling yourself something. That's self-talk. Because if that was all we needed, we'd all be successful. We'd all be thin. We'd all be whatever it is that we're telling ourselves. But you're bringing in that added component, the string with the kite. I love that it connects the two.
Right.
So fabulous. Okay. So I kind of feel like this is a good place for us to switch gears a little bit and talk about that next to love of yours. And that's the practice of breath work. So listeners, I just want to add in here just for a second that Bonnie has such a gift in this arena. And I'm going to have her lead you in a breathwork exercise later as we wrap up. But Bonnie, this is one of my favorite things that you do outside of you just being you, because you are precious. And I've been to a couple of business seminars and on a few Zooms with Bonnie where she's led us in an exercise of breath work. And I'm telling you, it is life-changing. So you've been kind of touching on it a little bit, but tell us more about this amazing thing called breath work. And I had never really even known much about it before I met you. And I'd love to share with you, or for you to share with us just a little bit more on that.
Good. Yeah, I'd love to do that. So the breath work that I do, and that I have been trained in since 1995 as a facilitator. So however many years that is, is taught, just so that you know, is taught through a nonprofit organization that I actually work for. And it's in over 180 countries.
Wow.
And they've been doing this for over 42 years. And we've touched over 500 million lives.
Oh my goodness.
The breath work is taught by an organization that's called the Art of Living. Remember I mentioned that book, Science of Being and Art of Living. And so the Art of Living teaches a rhythmic, very powerful rhythmic breathing technique. And this harmonizes the mind-body complex. And I talked about kind of, progressing into the spiritual changes. But, initially it's very powerful, reduced stress, reduced anxiety, better sleep, stronger immune system, increased energy levels are some of the basic changes that come.
Wow.
People find that their life satisfaction increases, their stress hormones, serum cortisol has been a lot of independent research studies have over 100 have been done on this process that has, these changes. And so it's been very well established. Now, the other interesting thing I just want to pop in here is that this technique is taught by the Art of Living and sister organizations to all different levels of society. So it's taught in prisons. and we have a program that's called Prison Smart, Stress Management and Rehabilitation Training.
Wow.
We teach to high school kids. It's called Sky Schools. Sky stands for Sudarshan Kriya Yoga type of meditation, the breath work.
Right.
It's taught in colleges, Sky Campus. We're starting a new program. It's called the Recovery Program that we're teaching for those who have addiction problems.
Wow.
The division that I work in teaches in healthcare institutions, which is why I had asked you, if any of our audience might be healthcare professionals,
Right.
because we teach in Akron Children's Hospital
Yes.
and Children's National in DC. We've had programs at Harvard, Yale, all different institutions. And that's the work that I do, actually, is to support the healthcare professionals. The class is generally, it can run anywhere from 6 to 9 hours, depending upon the format of it, over 3 consecutive days. So you come online. It used to be taught in person. It probably is here or there in a smattering, but peppered around the country. But for the most part, we have migrated to an online format.
Yeah. I had no idea. And it's fascinating that you're touching so many areas. And what I probably in my mind, forgive me for this, thought might have been kind of hokey years ago, I've slowly begun to realize there is a great deal of importance. And you touched on all of the mind and body that the breathwork affects and all of the benefits. And I just love that that the company that you're associated with has gone into so many avenues to help people.
Yes. Well, like any other nonprofit organization or even a profit organization, has a mission and has a higher purpose.
Right.
And that's what the art of living is about. It's about learning how to manage the mind.
Yes.
Through the breath and making one's life a celebration.
I love that. Bonnie.
Bringing up the joy.
Yes. Yesterday when we were talking, you made a comment about something that you said, I'm a true believer that everything has led, and I'm going to let you kind of finish that. But can you just talk a little bit about that? Because I thought that was really profound.
Sure. Well, I look like I'm in a garden. I know we're on Zoom and people can't see it, but I look like I'm in a garden, but I'm sitting in my living room.
Okay.
And I'm facing the stairway, the steps that go upstairs. And if I think about getting to the first landing, because there's two flights, I can get to that first landing, but every step prior to that helped get me to that landing.
Right.
Okay, simple example. In the same way, I was sharing with you yesterday about my personal life journey and how I started, first of all, with the experiences that I had, in my relationship with my family of origin, and then what my experience was like in college and feeling very isolated and very shut down and fearful and needing to stay in control of everything and gaining a tremendous amount of weight in my freshman year, and because I was just overwhelmed. And now those experiences took me to my next step. And I ended up starting meditation, being a high school mathematics teacher. That teaching experience took me, or everything that I experienced up until that point took me to my next experience, which gave me the opportunity to be alert to more life lessons.
Right.
More life lessons. And so each phase of my life, just like each step, took me to the next step. So here I am now, 2023. I still work. I love to work, but I have, and in many ways, it's not work, it's play. And I have a plethora behind me of personal insights, knowledge, lessons learned, lessons failed, and
Yes.
still learning, right?
Yes.
And for example, one of my career steps was to be, after I graduated with a master's in higher educational administration, from a university, by the way, that all its faculty, all its students, all its staff, all meditators, an usual institution, accredited for bachelor's, master's, and PhDs, called Maharishi International University in Fairfield, Iowa. And when I graduated from there, I moved into the senior administration as the registrar.
Wow.
And I learned so much about myself, how much I loved people, how much I loved serving and taking care of people, how good I was with details and organizing things. I mean, I was responsible, for example, for the graduation, which would happen in May. I would start in September with a big calendar that wrapped around the entire office for every month. Get pens on, order pens for the diplomas on this date and paper clips on that date, and, process the records on this calendar from September to May.
Yes.
So a tremendous amount of organizational opportunity to express that part of myself. So I discovered those things in that step. And then when I went on to the next step, I brought all of that self-knowledge with me.
Yeah.
Plus everything else that I had learned. And I don't think that this is really such an unusual understanding, but maybe your listeners maybe haven't thought about that in their own life path.
Right. What I'm hearing is it's so easy to have an experience and ruminate on it and regret it. Now, while I want a disclaimer here, there are some things that are so painful and so egregiously done to us that, yes, they're going to always have that pain point, and they were completely wrong. But if I'm hearing you right, it's so important to take each of those things and find, for lack of better words, the flip side of it, or a lesson there, or something that you can take away that you can either add to something later, help someone later, and rather than just constantly ruminating, it was a bad thing, I'll never be able to use it, nothing good will ever come of it. And you've taken all of your life, and you have led a fascinating life, and you have brought it with you each step of the way, and it's just made you who you are today. And I love that you recognize that.
Yes. Well, thank you. And I think you've stated that very well. I was thinking about this morning before we came in. I believe that our journey on this planet in this lifetime, you may or may not believe in multiple lifetimes. I happen to believe in that. Okay. But you may not, and that's okay. But framing it for me in two different buckets. One is the bucket of self-care and the decisions and the choices that I have, through a lot of hard work and a lot of grit and a lot of white knuckling, come to truly understand it's my responsibility, I'm in charge. But self-care. Right. And every choice that I make from the time that I decide at night, am I going to go to bed now?
Mm-hmm.
Where's my glass of water? And am I going to schedule my meditation time and do it?
Right.
Because it's easy. Life gets busy. You need to do the laundry. The kids are calling you. The phone rings, all these things. Self-care, whatever that looks like for you.
Mm-hmm.
The other bucket that I think about is self-development.
Okay.
Okay. And that's kind of on a different level, like I was talking earlier about, the difference kind of between what I found was the initial steps in the path, taking it to a higher spiritual level, to the level of my consciousness, my awareness. And I know that there are several doctors online that talk about that,
Yes.
consciousness and so forth. And a lot of books are out there now about it. And yeah, I feel like that's also my responsibility to engage in self-inquiry
Mm-hmm.
and ask myself, what is going on? What is true for me? Moving through the obstacles, the only way out is through. And by doing that, all of a sudden, the frame expands.
Yes.
Self-development. And in many circles, that self is with a capital S,
Mm-hmm.
as in one's consciousness
And
or
that,
one's soul.
right. And that practice takes you out of being a victim and into being in authority and control of your life and the decisions you make. And it is empowering. It is just freaking empowering. So I love, love that you talked about that. Okay.
Yeah.
Listen, we could sit here all day.
Good.
But I got a couple of other things I want to ask you, and then I'm going to turn it over to you to do a little bit of guided breathing with us.
Breathing. Okay,
Yes,
great.
I have tried.
And may I just add one thing,
Yes.
if I may? The reason we could be here all day is because you're so great with your questions, and actually, I love talking.
Oh, I
So
love
there you
you.
go.
I love you. All right. I've tried a few times to sit and calm my mind in my untrained idea of what meditation is. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. I would imagine there are listeners out there who have this locked in and, it's a habit that they've mastered, but I personally have not. So if there, for me and anybody else that might be listening, can you share with us some tips or some information that might help those of us who are struggling here to get into that space where we can kind of learn to quiet our mind?
Yeah. So, if you're in a dark, I'm going to use another analogy.
Okay.
If you're in a dark room, okay, you're in a dark room, you need to turn on the light to have light,
Right.
right? So, and so the light becomes the principle of a second element in order to create that light.
Okay.
And so to answer your question, one does need some guidance, some instruction. It's just like diving into a pool. If you want to dive into a pool well, you need to be trained on how to take the proper angle and let go. And so this quieting of the mind through a meditation can be taught by a teacher that teaches you how to take the proper angle and let go.
Okay.
I hope that makes a
It
little
does.
sense.
So what you're telling us is if this is something that we're interested in learning more about, we need to not just jump into the pool feet first and think we're going to be able to do this. We need to have some guidance.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Because, there's, yeah, absolutely. Because there are lots of techniques out there. I mean, there's Vipassana and there's, my elder brother is a Zen Buddhist.
Mm-hmm.
that loves it, does very well, goes on long weekend retreats. I have no draw to that, but he does, and he sits. But I think that because look, quieting the mind cannot be taught by reading about it in a book.
Okay. That
You
makes
have to
sense.
have a direct experience. And to have that proper direct experience, you need a trained teacher. I believe that that's true.
That makes total sense. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So the company that, the nonprofit that I work
Mm-hmm.
for has a meditation technique. Wonderful. Has tremendous results. Lots of research has been done on it. And we also have the breath work that we teach. We have silence retreats, we have yoga retreats, but the first step, the part one, is actually the breath work, which is kind of like if you have a mirror. I like to work with analogies. I hope it helps
It does.
with concepts. If you're looking in a mirror and it's dusty, like it is in Iowa in the summertime, because it's dry and it's just okay. So the breath work helps clear the dust off the mirror,
Okay.
the gunk
Yes.
in the nervous system. Okay. Those impressions, those stresses. Then, if you stepped up to the mirror and took a good look at yourself right in your own eyes after you cleared off the gunk, you would go pretty deep. That's what adding the meditation would do.
Okay.
So in our tradition of techniques, if you will, we start with the breath work, which clears the nervous system to allow it to then do the meditation to take one very deep within oneself by clearing out stuff.
Yes. Okay. That makes total sense. All right. Thank you for that
Okay.
beautiful
So shall we
explanation.
do a little breathing?
Yes. Wait a minute. I have one more question. And listeners, I'm going to put links in the show notes. Bonnie has given me quite a few links to put in there. So once this is up, click on those links and it will take you to various places that she has given me that she feels like you might find of interest. But you alluded to the college and the community of the university, and it's in this amazing town. And you told me you were sharing some things last night about what the community of this town is like. Before I turn it over to you, can you just share with us, because it sounds like an amazing place to live.
Well, you're invited to visit.
I'm going to come one day.
Yeah, it is a very amazing place, and I'll give you a few reasons why. Number one, like myself, I moved here in 1975. Why? Because there's a university here. I mentioned it before.
Mm-hmm.
I got my master's from it. It's an accredited university, and it draws students from all over the world, international students, and for computer science and biologies and various studies, English, math, regular curriculum.
Right.
And the point of view of it's not a regular university because all of the academic subjects are presented in the light of the basic principles of the development of consciousness.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's really it's a beautiful thing. And because without our consciousness lively, we don't learn anything anyway.
Right.
And so anyway, it's hard, it's a little hard to explain, but the town itself is in southeast Iowa. We're 2 hours southeast of Des Moines. In the 70s and 60s, this town was riddled by students who went to a college here that was called Dropout U.
Mm-hmm.
Dropout U, which was Parsons College.
Okay.
And it went bankrupt in the early 70s, and the Transcendental Meditation movement purchased this campus and moved from its Santa Barbara location in 1974 and came here to Fairfield, Iowa, and subsequently became accredited. And so there's the university with a national and international community. Because so many of us here, so the university is all faculty, all students, all staff meditate, and we meditate together in a building. Now, Oprah has been here.
Wow.
And I could send you a link about that, her visit here, because she started Transcendental Meditation and she gifted instruction in meditation to all of her staff because it had such a profound effect on her.
Right.
Those of you who know film, David Lynch is a very famous director and producer. I think his big one is Mulholland Drive. People know that one.
Yeah.
And there's an organization called the David Lynch Foundation that works with Hollywood personalities in raising funds that are used to teach meditation to kids in inner city.
Wow. I love that.
So this community is very entrepreneurial, a lot of creativity, a lot of businesses that have been transported from Boston, all to DC, all different cities, because the owners want to live in a community with like-minded people who are on this, have the same vision for themselves and for the world.
Right.
So it's a very unusual community because there is what's called town and gown. There's the people that lived here before all of us influxed from all over the place, and, some of the farmers don't quite get, vegetarian and, organic and, Ayurvedic health things and acupuncture and all of the, some people might call it woke. I don't know, but I love it here, and it's very peaceful. I can leave my car open and go for a stroll in the country, and we have a lot of restaurants, more restaurants per capita than any other city in Iowa.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
The town has received a lot of awards. And you all, I'm sure, have probably heard of Stephen Sondheim. And this community built a community center, an entertainment auditorium, and is the only facility, I think, west of the Mississippi that has been able to get Sondheim on the name.
Wow.
And so our center is called the Sondheim Center. And so we get great performances. We have Nutcracker coming. We have Broadway shows that come in. We have entertainers and dance troupes and all in this community, this
It sounds fascinating.
Yeah, it's great. So there's lots of things. There's entertainment. There's art galleries galore.
Wow.
Here, because the creativity of people come. So it's a little artsy.
Yes.
And Indian food, Greek food, Chinese food, Thai food, American food, Mexican food. For those who are foodies, there's lots of options.
Yes.
So it's a very eclectic community.
I love that. So, listeners, like I said, I'll be putting all the notes, links in the show notes, and I'm going to turn this over to Bonnie. But I want to tell you first, if you are driving or if you are in a space that it's not safe for you to close your eyes and really focus on listening to Bonnie, then put this on pause. And later, when you're in a safe place, that you'll be able to put all your attention here, then pop us back on and listen to Bonnie. But Bonnie, I'm going to let you take over, sweetie.
Great. So what I want to suggest, okay, is we're going to do two little breathing techniques. One is called straw breath, and it's if anybody has uh high blood pressure issues, this will help them a lot.
That's good to know.
And then we'll go into what's called alternate nostril breathing. And that is very helpful to quiet the mind. Um, not unique to the art of living, but very effective. Okay. And then if we had the time, which maybe we could do something again in the future, we would then go into a guided meditation. I was in a program yesterday with about 40 MDs from Kaiser in California. And the transition in the energy in the room was palpable.
Wow, I bet it
Once
was.
we got done with doing this, it was amazing. It was so inspiring. Everybody said, "Oh, I didn't want to come out," and everything. So I'll stop talking. So we're going to do two breath work exercises. So what I want to ask people to do is to sit comfortably. And if you have children in your space or animals in your space, you want to kind of clear the space of those right now. Just let them know that mom's going to be just a few minutes and then she'll get to you. And, animals, you probably don't want to have your cat on your lap, even though they may feel the energy shift and they may like to be there. Okay. So, what we're going to do with the straw breath, we're just going to sit comfortably and we're going to breathe in fully through our nose. And if it's blocked a little bit, this may help unblock it. And what we'll do is we'll breathe in through our nose. And then when we breathe out, we're going to purse our lips and imagine that you're blowing out through a straw. So you'll breathe in through the nose fully and out through the lips. In through the nose and then out through the lips. Okay. And what I want you to do, so that's an overview. So I want you to sit comfortably. We're going to do this 5 times. So we could sit comfortably and close our eyes. Notice what's going on in your body. Notice what's going on in your mind right now. How are you feeling? Just notice. So now we're going to take a normal, natural breath through the nose. And then an exhale slowly through this straw that's in front of you. Fully inhale through the nose. Exhale through the straw. Continue. One more time. And now I just want you to notice how you're feeling now. Has your energy shifted? Has your mind shifted? Are you feeling more quiet? Now, keeping our eyes closed, I'm going to instruct you in what's called alternate nostril breathing. And we're going to use our right hand, even if we're lefties. And I'm going to be using my thumb and my ring finger. And I'm going to bring those up to my nose, and I'm going to put my thumb on my right nostril, and I'm going to hold the right nostril down. I'm going to use the index finger and the middle finger and just point it towards the space between the eyebrows. And then, so you're going to breathe out, hold the right nostril down, and breathe out through the left. Now use the ring finger and hold down the left, pick up the right, and breathe in through the right nostril. Now hold the right nostril down, exhale through the left nostril. Breathe in, hold the left, pick up the right, exhale through the right. Now inhale through the right, hold the right, pick up the left, exhale through the left. And we're going to alternate that way. And you want to end with exhaling through the left. So when you come to that, and before you open your eyes, you can bring your hand down to your lap. I want you to notice, did you experience any changes in your head? Energy moving. Notice how you feel. Any sensations, maybe in your shoulders, your head, your thinking, your mind. Maybe even other places in your body, maybe in your tummy or your solar plexus. Coming back to your center without all of the chaos of that thinking mind, and having that supported by a quiet body. And so when you're ready, you can open your eyes.
Bonnie, that was amazing.
It's so beautiful.
I feel lighter. I feel a calmness in my body, almost like it's weightless. Does that make sense? It's just,
Sure.
it's the craziest thing. That was amazing.
You know, the first exercise, which was the straw breath, helps take things out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you may notice it, and it's sort of taking out some toxins, some energy, you know. And the alternate nostril breathing, I see it as helping to direct the energy that's moving.
Yes.
And that energy that moves through all parts of our body, audience members may know this term or may not, is called prana, Prana, prana. And those of you who may do yoga routines or even work out on circuit training in the gym, your trainer's probably telling you to breathe in and out, very consciously, very with intention and attention. So the prana moves through the body and is the transmitter it's the carrier, I should say, of also helping to remove, because when the mind settles down, the body settles down. You probably experienced that.
Right.
And as the body settles down, it starts to release, just like when we sleep, we release. And so there's some releasing going on. And so that release kind of has a physical manifestation, which can be taken out of the body into the outer surrounding through the breath.
Yeah.
So it's that process. So little analysis, doesn't matter if you get behind that or not. The key is, how was your experience? How do you feel now?
Well, I feel amazing personally. And for those of you who did this with us, I'm sure you each have your own journey to share. But Bonnie, I just want to thank you so much for taking such a big chunk out of your day to be with us today. And as Bonnie promised, I'm going to have her back, and we'll maybe just do a session on just a breath work and some guided meditation. And
Sure.
So look for that, listeners. And I have so loved this. Thank you.
You're welcome so much. I'm very grateful to the opportunity to share and to maybe make a difference in somebody's life today.
Yes, I know you have.
So if it's okay, your audience members can write you if they're interested to know more about where they can learn in their community. You could forward those things to me, or I can, we can talk about. I'm more than happy to give a contact email, whatever, just to help people locate teachers and facilitators in their area. Or, I could even do a program online. So that's an opportunity if folks want to do that.
Yes, I will definitely put your contact email information in the notes. And listeners, you're going to have a lot of resources in there to click on and explore. And then I do encourage you to reach out to Bonnie because she is just a joy to work with. Bonnie, thank you so much. And I have enjoyed this. Yes. And listeners, I hope that until the next time, you are living, breathing, and meditating in your space well. Hey, thanks for listening. Don't forget to hit follow wherever you get your podcast. And until next time, I hope you live in your space well, my friends.